been a member of USA since April.
Cool. Hey, what's going on, Kelvin? Thank you, brother, for stopping in. Really appreciate it, as always, man. You know, just hanging in there, trying to have another good show, talk about some really good topics. You know, we got some cool things happening with the channel tonight and tomorrow. If you guys are interested in Gears of War, stay tuned to the end of the show, and I'll give you guys an opportunity to find out what's happening probably within the next hour. Along with that, I'm also going to be doing a giveaway at the end of the show for Quantum Break and as well as Gears of War, the original series. If you guys are interested in any of those titles, definitely stay tuned to the end of the show, and you will definitely have an opportunity to win one. And I'll tell you how and all that stuff like that once we get towards the end of the show. Pretty simple. It won't be nothing too crazy, but, you know, you'll get a chance to get your hands on it and stuff like that. So I want to thank everybody for stopping in. I'm always supporting the Inner Circle. Very grateful for the support as always. And I just want to get right back into business, man. Been a minute since I've been with Super Podshots. And I don't know if the world's missed me, but your superhero is back. So let's get it popping. Hey, Expedinites, you're now rocking with KOR X Kal-El, the last son of planet Xbox, and you're listening to Super Podshots. Hey, man, want to thank everybody once again from coming in. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you don't know about the Inner Circle, definitely check out our channel. You know, don't just pop in for the free game or just pop in to see what's going on with the live stream. Definitely check out our other content, man. I think a lot of people are surprised by what we bring to the table. People might not, you know, recognize who we are or what we've contributed to this generation as far as media is concerned. But you know, we've had our hands in the media, surprisingly, as a smaller podcast, maybe not as well known as everybody else, but still made some significant strides nonetheless amongst the podcast community, especially for the Xbox community. So I just want to thank everybody for the support and make sure you guys check out our channel. We're doing some changes, man. We're revamping the channel. We're bringing in our teams. We're streamlining everything. We've added a Let's Play, so you guys are getting more gaming content. We plan to do some more things here and there. We're working with different people, so you guys keep it locked here, and we will see what we can do with everything that is the Inner Circle Network. So I want to talk about a few things, a few topics that happened over the last couple of days as well as today. Surprisingly, today, Microsoft announced Voodoo Remastered for Xbox One and Windows 10 releasing in 2017. Now, listen, I've said this 1,000 times, and I know that's like one of my favorite lines. I catch myself saying it so often because I feel like I always repeat myself. Microsoft has the opportunity to be the king of platformers. No one wants to believe me when I say these things. But if you look at early Microsoft, like the original Xbox, remember, this is when Microsoft wanted to buy Nintendo. They really wanted to. It didn't work out. And in the end, they wound up developing Xbox and Windows and getting, you know, the Windows kind of like console, trying to get Windows in every home, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what wound up happening was cool platformers that most people glossed over because no one at the time was really into Xbox. But a lot of their platformers were really, really good and really neglected. And, you know, at the time you had PS2. I will admit myself, I was a big PlayStation 2 fanboy, man. I had, like I said, I grew up, I grew up as a kid, as a child in the 80s. My teens was in the 90s. My early, you know, adulthood was in the 2000s, early 2000s. So for me, around when Super Nintendo came out, I didn't have an NES like everybody else. You know, I grew up like any other, you know, black child in a terrible neighborhood and, you know, poverty stricken, and my mother couldn't afford a you know, Nintendo console. I had an Atari when everybody else had a Nintendo. I think I had an Atari 2600. I was still playing ET like it was the greatest thing ever, but it was cool, you know. It's about what your parents do for you. In the end, though, 1992 hits. I'm 11. My mother buys me a Super Nintendo with Mortal Kombat. Greatest day of my life. We'll never forget that day. We'll never forget just ripping the paper off of that box that holiday and just looking at Super Nintendo, seeing Mario sitting on Yoshi and seeing all these dope commercials with Nintendo and the Super Scope 6. And it was an amazing time for me. Amazing time. Mortal Kombat was really hot, just came out. It was in the arcade. I had it at home. I got the blood code from one of my friends at school because, Super Nintendo didn't have blood in their game and Sega Genesis did. So, as a Super Nintendo fanboy growing up, I was always about Nintendo. In my opinion, everything Nintendo put out was better than Sega. And I know there's some Sega fanboys out there, but listen, man, Super Nintendo was that console, bro. You couldn't see me when it came to Super Nintendo. Everybody was like, Sonic is faster. I said, Sonic can't swim, bro. That's it, bro. When you gotta walk in water, your mascot is lame, dog. Mario got fireballs. He got the star. He's invincible. He's got a pet dinosaur, bro. You can't beat that. Who does he have? Tails dies like every 5 minutes. But those were great times, So Microsoft had a lot of platformers back in the day. And it's crazy because as I think about all the platformers they had when I got an Xbox finally, at the time I was working for GameStop. I probably was about 20, 21. And me and a friend of mine, we hated it. We were so deep into JRPGs, bro. Like literally, if you would have walked in, you probably would have thought we were Japanese at this point. And, I'm playing everything. We're playing Chrono Cross, Arc the Lad, Cloud. I can't remember the name of the game. Something Cloud. What else we had for PlayStation 2 back in the day? Final Fantasy X was amazing to me. Had probably one of the best stories in the Final Fantasy series. I know a lot of people didn't like Titus, but I really thought that Titus and his father dynamic was amazing. Then you introduced Yuna, the love story. Then you had Blitzball. Blitzball was amazing, picking up characters around the world while you're traveling. I'm like really going on a retrospective at this point. But PS2 was amazing to me, and I really felt like Microsoft couldn't touch it. Like I'm just like, the box was big. It was black. It had that green logo. The controller was humongous. I'm like, what is this monstrosity? This is terrible. Like people come, I want an Xbox. Why do you want an Xbox? Get a PlayStation, dude. Look at all these amazing games. You don't want this garbage. That was me. And I'm sitting up there and my boy is like, dude, did you play Halo? I don't play shooters. I play RPGs, man. He's like, nah. You got to try this game, man. It's co-op. I'm like, I bet. I finally get on the controller, bro. I almost get fired. We don't get off of Halo for like 3 hours. We're not even like taking customers. Customers are standing at the register looking at us. And we're like, oh, sorry. We pause the game. We don't turn the game off. We pause the game and we go around. We bring the person up. We come back. We hop right back on Halo. I'm at his house playing Halo co-op. He's come to my house with the memory card. Remember the Xbox had a memory card too? He brings the memory card over. We're playing Halo on there. We're going back and forth. And at that point, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Halo's not bad, but what else Microsoft got? So then I start to do my research. And I'm like, oh man, Soldier of Fortune was like one of the first games that I got a chance to play live, like Xbox Live for the first time. And it blew my mind. It changed my whole experience. It really did. It gave me a new respect for what the Xbox was as a console. It was definitely Western without question. It was nothing like what PlayStation 2 was, but it was definitely Western, but it gave me a new respect for what the Xbox was. Then I got introduced to Grab by the Ghoulies. Then they had Blinks the Cat, Voodoo Vince. I can't think off the top of my head. There was a few others: Fusion Frenzy, Crimson Skies, Bloodwake, Brute Force, which I hated, by the way. I hated Brute Force. Then I got hooked when I got Knights of the Old Republic. And this was the game that turned the tide. Like, it changed everything for me at that point. As an RPG guy, especially JRPG, turn-based, time-based, type of games. You know what I'm saying? Trying to find the ultimate weapon, or trying to reset a time bar and push the enemy back before he attacks you. One of those things. Dealing with trying to freeze characters or bring a character back to life with Phoenix Downs. Going from that to playing more of a kind of like turn-based, but it was action type game, was more Western, was more about numbers, putting on armor and these different things, really opened my eyes into what Xbox was presenting. And I started to actually like Xbox. It's almost blasphemous in a way. Then I played Jade Empire. And I was like, oh my God, what is this new experience? And it just goes to show you that Microsoft had an amazing lineup. They had an amazing lineup that I think a lot of guys slept on because they just was biased. And I was biased. And it opened my eyes up the platform. Microsoft has a ton of platformers. And they have a large library of games. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of those games were third-party, but they had them as third-party exclusives. But you look at Voodoo Vents, and you look at Crimson Skies, and you look at Future Frenzy, and you look at Mech Warrior, if they can remaster Voodoo Vents, they need to remaster Blinks. Even though Blinks, they lost the licensing for Blinks the name. They let it go. But if I was them, I would renew it. I would bring back Blinks the Cat. Blinks the Time Sweeper was really one of the cool first games that kind of used time manipulation. You know what I'm saying? Like you had Max Payne where you would be shooting somebody and everything would be in slow motion and things like that. But Blinks the Cat had a vacuum cleaner where he would fight enemies and he would suck them in, and you could rewind time and you can go forward, fast forward time. You can pause time. You could slow-mo time. It was amazing. It was an amazing way to play. And so many people missed out on that title. A game like that today, in today's world, where Nintendo kind of is like the king of platformers, and they will forever be the king of platformers, but Microsoft can play within that realm. It's something that Sony kind of has stopped doing themselves. You think about back in the day with PlayStation, with like, what is his name? Yeah, Jack and Daxter, which was really cool, even though, they kind of started to make it more darker as it got along in the series. It got darker and darker. But early on, it was really great. They continued that with Ratchet and Clank. They also had Crash Bandicoot. There was a lot of platformers that Sony had, and they were building up themselves, but they took a more mature route compared to Nintendo. And Microsoft had this thing, but they got away from it kind of with the 360. Cameo came out, it didn't do as well. And I just finished chatting with Nick Macon about that. And he cited that the reason why we don't have a Cameo 2 today is because of sales. And if you don't know who Nick Macon is from Making Games, he's an indie developer. I had him on a while ago. We talked about his Beat 'em Up, which is the kind of like a pays homage to Final Fight and Streets of Rage, things like that. And he spoke about how, he really wished that we had Cameo 2. What they were going to do with Cameo 2 was absolutely amazing. And I'm like, really? I'm like interested. I want to have him on the show again to talk about Cameo 2 and what possibly Cameo 2 could have been. I think that would make a great interview just to get that inside scoop. Hopefully he's not under some type of NDA. But Microsoft strayed away from that. They had Cameo. They had, what did they have early on a 360? There was a few 360 titles, platformers wise, but more often than not, they went with the JRPG renaissance, which is what got me. Seeing Gears of War first on 360 just blew my mind, and I knew I had to get it. Then the price point was $400. PlayStation was $600. There was no way I was getting a PS3. And then 360 was just coming out with all these games and these JRPGs and all these exclusives. Once I got my hands on Mass Effect, that was it. I was like, I don't need a PlayStation. And at that point, PlayStation lost me with PS3. And I've never looked back. And it's not that Sony is not a great company and not a great gaming platform or franchise, and they don't have great franchises. They're just not PS2. They're just not what they were back in the day at PS2. And I know it's different because you had Dreamcast. Then it was just PlayStation 2 and Dreamcast died. And for a while, it was just PlayStation 2. And then you had the Xbox come out, then you had the GameCube come out, and then that was the competition, and there's been the competition ever since. So But but PlayStation had locked up so many third-party games. And it's funny when PlayStation guys talk about all the amazing games that PlayStation had, but the reality of it is a lot of the games that we love were third-party. Like dead serious, like Legend of Dragoon, and all these games that came out with third-party titles. Ark the Lad, they were third-party titles. So Sony did have some amazing games. Oh, I remember Mark of Kree. Mark of Kree was made by Disney. What an amazing game! It was like one of the first games that kind of had that button smash, button press, kind of like Batman Arkham Knight, where you press circle and you press X and you're moving left and right. And he has some amazing fatalities. What an amazing game, man. I love that game. I really wish they would redo it or remaster it or something, and maybe something that maybe they can make multi-plat. But but to make a long story short, because I'm just like reminiscing at this point, to make a long story short, yeah, man, Microsoft had a lot of platformers, and they had a lot of titles that fans really loved that really made Xbox Live amazing. And they really need, if you're going to remaster Voodoo Vince, you already know. Once us Xbox fans saw that, and don't get me wrong, we Xbox guys complain about remasters. We're like, dude, if you can get a BC, why the hell do you need it remastered? But I will say this. For an Xbox title, an OG Xbox title that was 15 years ago. Think about that. That's 15 years ago. A remaster for a title like Blinks the Cat, Crimson Skies, Mech Assault, Voodoo Vince would work. As long as the price is $20, $15. It's not 60. It's not 40. As long as the price is reasonable, I would rebuy a remaster of those older titles. I'm not going to buy a remaster of a title that came out last gen. That's insane. I still to this day am baffled that people bought the remaster of The Last of Us. And when you compare the two, in my opinion, they are absolutely the same game. Even if the resolution bump or whatever texture bump they had, to me, just wasn't noticeable. So it's just crazy to me that happened. And that happened a lot this generation. But for me, if they go out and they remaster PS2 games and they remastering OG Xbox games and then bringing them over at a reasonable price, I'm down with that. So a remaster of Voodoo Vince to me was smart. I really hope that they are able to remaster Crimson Skies, remaster. Listen, I want a party game, bro. I do. I want a party game. I need a party game. Fusion Frenzy. I spent hours playing Fusion Frenzy with my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, my sisters, my brother, just sitting there for hours playing 4-on-4, playing sumo in the balls, rolling around the ball cage, trying to knock people off. The platform is leaning left. It's getting smaller and smaller every time you knock somebody off. Trying to put the little gems inside the bucket to get more points, punching people, stealing their gems. It was great, man. It was Xbox's Mario Party. And in my opinion, and even though it was a Mario Party in the sense that it was a board game, which, by the way, Mario Party was amazing on GameCube, they need that. They need that party game where you can have 4, 5, 6 guys in a game competing against each other in these little mini events trying to win. I think that would be really, really cool and really, really fun. And if they remaster Fusion Frenzy and put live into it, that would be great. And I really hope that they think about that. Those games don't have to be super expensive. And because they're such older titles, I really don't think it would take much to remaster them. At least budget-wise, it wouldn't take much. So that may be something they should look into, honestly. I would be really impressed with that if they were able to go ahead and remaster games like that. I'm not a brute force guy. I do remember NFL Fever. I thought NFL Fever was the greatest looking NFL game ever. It looked amazing back in its day. Peyton on the cover. I remember playing with the Jets and just feeling so realistic when the running backs leaned. Like when they leaned into the run or they cut left, it just felt realistic and the game looked realistic. It was just amazing. Xbox, the OG Xbox, I can't deny it. It was an amazing console during its time, but was sorely slept on. And I'm glad that Halo woke me up to it, because I might not be here today. So definitely, hopefully they remaster Voodoo Vince, which is supposed to be coming out in 2017. And I already knew Phil had a hand in that. I hit him up immediately. I'm like, Phil, that was a boss move. Phil, that was a boss move. I know that was a boss move. He's like, I had nothing to do with it. The team the guys from Beep Inc. They wanted to make the remaster. I just made sure that it went through. Yeah, keyword. You made sure it went through. You damn sure wasn't going to deny it from going through. You made sure it went through. Boss move. You did your thing on that one. So hopefully Voodoo Vince comes out and people enjoy it. It's really cool, jazzy, New Orleans flavor and stuff like that. You're dealing with like voodoo and a witch. I can't remember what it was. Like black magic and stuff like that. So, we'll see how it is if people get into it. I know it's one of Phil's favorite games. It's to be expected. So that's really cool. We'll see how that works out. And hopefully, if that is a success, we can see more of those titles, those remastered titles come out in the future at reasonable prices. Moving on. So Microsoft, surprisingly, got some news today about, well, really not so much they got some news today, but there was news today that Microsoft is not as left behind when it comes to certain markets as people think. A lot of people believe that Microsoft, as a console manufacturer, is only recognized in the United States of America and possibly the UK, and Sony dominates the rest of the world. Well, according to CIU, I can't remember the name of what that stands for, but it's some type of data collection agency. The Xbox brand dominates in Central and Latin America. In Mexico, the Xbox 360 controls 53.9% of the market, and the Xbox One controls 12%. The Wii U controls 12%, and PlayStation 4, I believe, controls 9%. And PS2, I think controls, I can't remember what PS2 controls. I just know it's under Xbox, maybe 33%. But that's impressive. That's impressive that Microsoft has such a stronghold in Mexico and other places in Central America, like, not Central, but South America, like Brazil, Argentina, little things like that. And that has to do also with, at least in South America, the price of PlayStation. The price of PlayStation is way higher than it is for the Xbox. So a lot of people are buying the Xbox instead because it's cheaper. But the brand is pretty strong in Latin America, and that's impressive. So Microsoft needs to continue to go ahead and push that brand, but they need to be able to expand whatever they're doing in Central and South America into Eastern Europe, into the East. And I know that's difficult. I know that's very hard. But listen, the Xbox One S has been killing the game. It's been doing this thing. They've created a console, which surprisingly is just a Trojan horse of the original console, added some new features to it, and now it's just flying off the shelves. Now, that could be attributed to people not wanting to pick up the PS4 Slim because PS4 Pro is about to come out. People are saving money for PSVR, and I'm going to talk about PSVR in a second. But, at the end of the day, people are, picking up the Xbox One Slim, and it's been really impressive to see so many people pick the console up knowing that the Xbox Scorpio is coming out next year. That says a lot. And the crazy thing about it is that the PS4 Slim currently, as of now, I'm not going to say, in the future, because you never know, but currently it's not being picked up as much because PS4 Pro a few months. And it's just weird to me because a lot of people got on Xbox for announcing the Xbox One Slim and announcing Scorpio at the same time. It felt that Scorpio would undercut the Xbox One Slim and it wouldn't fly off the shelves. But being that Scorpio's a year away, people are not going to wait. Knowing that they have HDR, knowing that they have 4K Blu-ray, 4K streaming, knowing that the console is sleeker, prettier, it comes in white. You have now all these really cool looking bundles. You got the Gears bundle. You got the Battlefield 1 bundle. There's just they're really trying to take on the approach of now branding and coloring their consoles in comparison to what they did with the original box. They just didn't do it with the original box. But now I'm starting to see all types of things happen with the Slim. And I think that's really cool. And that's great that Microsoft is doing that now. And maybe it was a cost-cutting thing because the console is smaller. It's cheaper to make custom consoles. But whatever they're doing is working, and people are racking them. They're flying off the shelves left and right. But that's not to say that PS4 Pro won't do its thing when it drops. We'll see what happens with that as we get closer and closer to the release of that and PSVR and things like that. We'll see what the numbers turn out to be. Again, I'm not about sales, but I'm not going to sit up here and act like sales don't play a role in games. They do. They play a role in games. It's just whether or not they play a significant role. For Sony, console sales play a significant role. For Microsoft, because now their games are on Windows 10, the console sales don't play a significant role as much, but it's still important. Let's not make the mistake and make it seem like console sales aren't important. If people aren't buying your games on PC, then the only other way they can play it is on Xbox. And you want to move those units so that way people are continuously playing those games. So I just want to move on and talk about Phil and how they have been making all the right moves. Microsoft has been doing a great job, making a lot of great moves, saying the right things, putting out some really good looking commercials. They got on Record really quick and patched it. And today they announced, if you don't know, if you go to the game store, you can download Record right now and play 30 minutes of the game, the full game, for free. And get yourself a 30-minute experience with the updated or see if it's fun, see if you enjoy it. And if you want to pick it up, pick it up. I'm going to see about 4 people said they gave it a try and now they're buying the game. The bugs really hurt that game. It's terrible that happened because the only thing I've ever heard from people was that the game was really fun and that a lot of people enjoyed the title. And now the game is kind of slightly fixed. And because of that, people are now picking the game up. I hope it does well. I hope it sells really well. And I look forward to hopefully a sequel. That is a Microsoft-owned IP, and I would hate to see a game like that, just fall to the wayside. Yeah, it's disappointing, but we'll see what happens in that regard. But Microsoft's been making, Microsoft's been making a lot of good moves as of late. I've been really impressed with what they're doing. I've been impressed with what Phil has been saying. I think they've been watching their words better. They haven't been mumbling over themselves. Albert Pinello out there doing his damn thing, talking about Xbox Scorpio, how they're shooting for 4K native. I had to send Phil a message like, hey, let's bring it back a little bit. I don't want, I like what Microsoft is doing, but I don't want them to be Sony, at least some of the executives in Sony. I'm not going to just say all of Sony. Let's not get it twisted. People can be very condescending and crack jokes and when you're doing bad. And that's what happened early on with a lot of the PlayStation things. And I don't think that's bad. That's just great marketing, but I also don't want people to be hypocritical when Microsoft then flips the script and then talking about Xbox One S has a Blu-ray, a UHD drive in their console. Oh, I can't believe Microsoft is taking shots. They're terrible people. How are they terrible? How are they terrible? By pointing out a fact, by pointing out that their console does play 4K disc. Early on, they weren't even getting that. Now, all of a sudden, it's a bad thing that Microsoft is pointing out their strengths and pointing out Sony's weaknesses. That's what you're supposed to do, right? When it comes to marketing, I don't think people understand how business works. I think if they were losing money, they would do everything they could to try to get and sell their products. So, but fanboys will be fanboys. But long story short, man, just Microsoft's been really doing their thing. I'm impressed with a lot of the things that they're doing. I'm hoping that they continue to be on the right path and stuff like that. And come this holiday season, actually, let me not say this holiday season, come in the next couple of days, you're about to get your mind blown. You are about to be blown away with Gears of War 4. I got some things that I want to talk about with Gears of War that is going to be, I'm not going to give you anything when it comes to review. First of all, I'm still within the embargo. But I've spoken to our reviewer. He gave me his impressions without telling me anything. And I'm going to give you those impressions without telling you anything. And we'll get to that later in the show, which will be in a bit because I don't want to stay on too long because we got some things popping in the next hour. But yeah, man, Microsoft needs to just continue to focus on what they're doing, continue to do what they're doing. I think all will be well with them. So PlayStation VR has gotten its reviews in, and currently the reviews are pretty positive. They have been pretty positive. Digital Foundry did a review on PlayStation VR. And one of the cool things about PSVR is the actual headset and how comfortable and easy to use it is. And as I was watching the Digital Foundry video, I really thought to myself, wow, that really is actually kind of impressive because of the simple fact that in the headset on your head, you just press a button in the back and it kind of loosens and you kind of roll this little gear and the gear either tightens or loosens the headset. And then you press the button again and it locks it in place. And to me, that's really cool. That's really cool. It seems comfortable. They said they designed it for balance, so that way it's not too heavy in the front. And as someone who's played VR at E3 and as someone who has tried HTC Vive at the Microsoft store, excuse me, I have to admit that it can be very front heavy. The HTC Vive comes with these head straps that you wrap around your head, and you have this big camera on the front. And don't get me wrong, the Vive is incredible. I mean, you really feel like you are in the world of VR. I didn't get motion sickness or anything like that, but I could just see over time that, and I think that's with any game or anything that you're playing, that you're just gonna have to take breaks because you're having this heavy weight in the front of your face and you're constantly looking up, you're looking down, but that weight bounces in the front of your face. So your neck is constantly, down. And there's no balance where on the sides or on the back. So I have to tip my hat off to Sony in the design of their PlayStation VR. Now, one of the bad things that they said about it was that when it came to the draw distance on some of the games, it can get really poor. But for the most part, it seems very interesting in what things are, what they're trying to do and stuff like that. And I think that they are going to be really good sales wise. Give me 1 second, guys. Apologies. So, I think that if they produce the goods when it comes to games, they could be onto something because I think maybe they may have the most comfortable headset of the three VR, I guess you could say headsets. But I know for a fact that, because I played it at E3, I know for a fact that the quality in comparison to what the Vive is, and that's just because it's just more expensive tech. Whatever they put into it, it's not the same. But it's really, at the end of the day, it's all about the games. I'm sure PS4 Pro will help and boost the power of PlayStation VR and what they want to do with that platform. I'm not a VR fan. I just feel like I know that VR wants you to be more immersed in what the game is. I just feel like I lose myself, maybe not in the VR, but in what the game is, because I'm so focused on what's happening left, right. I'm not even really paying attention to the game. I'm just trying to figure out what's happening in the game. And I think that kind of takes away from the immersiveness of a game. If you're playing, let's say, for example, you're playing a title like Elder Scrolls. And as cool as that looks to be in a game and to look right, I think your concern more than anything is to constantly keep your head on a swivel because you're not really recognizing, that you have to look right. You have to look left with your head in order to make sure that you're okay and you're safe as you move throughout the game. And I think that takes away from it just a smidge. But again, I have nothing against VR. I wish you nothing but success because I know both the Vive and I know that Oculus is supposed to be hitting Xbox Scorpio. So hopefully those titles are also doing well and they get good reviews and stuff like that. And it's very successful in itself. And we'll see what happens with that. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. I just want to give my opinion on it as we move through today's show. Now, one of the things I wanted to discuss is, and I want to ask you guys this question, and you can, leave comments in the comment section or leave comments in the chat. I've been really impressed with what I've seen from Mafia 3. Mafia 3 looks like it can be probably the best third-party title released this year. Now, in my opinion, as of right now, I think that the best third-party title released this year, in my opinion, was Shadow of Mordor. Shadow of Mordor. I thought Shadow of Mordor was amazing. It was an offshoot story from Lord of the Rings. It gave you a great backstory in how the rings were created, who made the rings, who's the spirit inheriting this warrior, your stealth kills, the action, some of the cutscenes, the possession. It just was really cool, man. I thought it was really dope. And if they can expand on that in the next series, I think that would be absolutely amazing. I just thought that, in my opinion, it just was really great. It was a really great third-party game. But Mafia 3 and possibly Watch Dogs, because Watch Dogs looks really impressive too. And I don't want people to just harp on Watch Dogs because of Watch Dogs 1. Watch Dogs 1 wasn't a bad game. I just want to make that clear. Watch Dogs 1 wasn't a bad game. To me, it just was lazy. And what I mean by lazy is I really felt like they took Assassin's Creed and the way the world works and slapped it in modern day times, put cars in it instead of horses, put gangsters in it instead of the Crusaders, the Templars, and said, here you go, do your thing. Because you have to go to these cell towers to unlock the map. And once you unlock the map, you get all these little mini missions before you complete the area. And that's exactly what you did in Assassin's Creed. In Assassin's Creed, you went to an area, you climbed the Eagle Tower, you jumped off the Eagle Tower, and then unlocked a quarter of the map. And you constantly did that. And that's exactly what you did in the game. And I'm sitting up here saying to myself, bro, this is Assassin's Creed. Why am I playing Assassin's Creed? And that's why I kind of lost interest in the game halfway through. But overall, as a game, it wasn't a bad game. There's a lot of things that they did in Watch Dogs that they did great. Blacking out a whole city, trying to escape, lifting up a drawbridge, turning a light from green to red and causing an accident, having people invade your game, trying to find out who's invading your game, trying to steal your information. The multiplayer aspect was pretty cool when it worked. The storyline wasn't bad either. You had these little side missions with serial killers. There was a lot of things in Watch Dogs that they did right, but at times it got boring, and that's why I lost interest. This looks completely different. New protagonist, new city. I'm talking about San Francisco, Hills, the Golden Gate. It just looks really impressive, man. And I'm hoping that the game outdoes what it did with the first one, but it's hard to trust Ubisoft. It really is. It's really hard to trust them nowadays. But between that and Mafia 3, with all this music, its Grand Theft Auto style, its protagonist, the mixture of the mob and this upcoming mob family that he's trying to build and get revenge, I think it really looks impressive. Each city is run by a different crew. It really gives us a feel that it can be probably maybe a Game of the Year contender. And we'll see. We'll see. We will definitely see when that comes out. But right now, it looks really impressive. So what do you guys think, man? What do you think will be that third-party title that could possibly be Game of the Year? It could have been Mass Effect, but that got pushed back. Final Fantasy 15 did not get good reviews at EGX, and that's crazy to me. I feel like Final Fantasy has completely fallen off, and I'm really interested in picking up Final Fantasy 15, but it's completely fallen off, so that's just very weird to me. We'll see what happens with that, but definitely leave a comment in the comment section, man. Let me know what you think will be your third-party title for the year, contender up there with some of the games like Uncharted and a few others. So I was on Twitter. Moving on, by the way. I was on Twitter, and what's crazy is that I seen this whole thing about the whole Titanfall disc thing, and I didn't really I don't want to get into it too much. I just want to give my opinion on it and stuff like that. I really thought that it was blown out of proportion to their opinion and whatever they want to do. Maybe that was, and my understanding is that it was an inside joke between E. E used to be a Microsoft a developer for Xbox. He worked on the Xbox One. He worked on the Xbox 360. He has now since left Microsoft. I believe currently is retired. And the first disc they printed out of Titanfall 2 was for PlayStation 4. And then the producer felt the game looked sexy. And E said that he wanted the game for Xbox. And the producer then responded that green discs aren't sexy. Now, I don't really want to get too deep in this. I really don't. Clearly, if they know each other as developers, or one is a producer, shall I say, but they do understand what a demo disc is. It's called a green disc. The disc is green, is what they demo games on. If that was what he was referring to, then by all means, it was blown out of proportion. My only thing about it, and even if this is true, it's still, in my opinion, kind of blown out of proportion. If he's asking you for an Xbox disc, why say a green disc? Because Xbox represents green. The only rebuttal now in that return, because the backlash became so great, was to talk about the demo disc and the green disc, when the color was never brought up. He just said he wanted the title in for Xbox. So yeah, it got blown out of proportion. The dude, they came up with some story. It could be true. It could be false. Who knows? At the end of the day, what matters is that Microsoft had a marketing deal. And I don't know, in my opinion, that was going to destroy that marketing deal. You don't see it happen to Sony. That's obviously the truth. But at the same time, if that one instance does not get blown up, like if that one instance doesn't flail out of control from Xbox fans and the media doesn't get wind of it, no one knows, no one cares. Honestly, it would be a conversation between E and the producer. No one would even looked at it. Nobody would have even cared. Like, honestly, it was on Twitter. No one would have cared. And the marketing rights for Xbox for Titanfall would have just went on through as it normally is. Bad enough, Titanfall probably is not going to do well. I can tell you that right now. Everyone I've spoken to, and don't get me wrong, the little bit of people I spoke to is not indicative of what the world would do. But just based on what I played and what some people played, even with the updates, it's just not Titanfall. I'm not saying that you can't change a game and improve upon it, but we don't think anything was wrong mechanically with the first game. There just was a lot missing. It wasn't as fleshed out. And that's why the game kind of died out over time, because the content wasn't there. We just wanted the content. Keep the mechanics the same. You know? So kind of, disappointing in that situation when it came to what they were trying to do or what he was trying to convey to E, and kind of make it a little joke and stuff like that. But man, listen, Xbox guys, PlayStation guys, it's hard to say anything. Guys are so passionate about their brands. You'd say one little thing, even as a joke, they will take it to heart, especially that, because that has a marketing deal on it. You know, you think about Microsoft and Destiny. Could you imagine if one of the devs from Destiny came out and said the game looks sexier in green? You know how many PlayStation fans will lose their minds over that? It's the truth, though. They would go crazy. They literally threatened the voice actress from Tomb Raider and told her that they would, I don't want to say the word, but, RAPE her. And that's crazy to me. Crazy to me that you would literally threaten a voice actress, which has nothing to do with the marketing deal or do with the exclusivity deal that Microsoft had for Tomb Raider. That's insane. That's an insane thing, but it just goes to show you how far people are willing to go. So that's crazy in itself. But I don't think that should have happened. I think that maybe in the future developers won't say anything and stick to the marketing deals, and hopefully people won't get upset and be pissed off about it. So that's my opinion on it, man. And we're going to move on and we're going to finish up. Like I said, I want to have a short show today because we got some things popping off in the next 30 minutes. Gears of War 4. I have so much to say about Gears of War 4. And I have so little to say about Gears of War 4 all at the same time. So what's really cool is that we got our review copy of Gears of War 4, and our reviewer went ahead and he played the game, and I was getting feedback from him. I'm going to give you some of the feedback that he told me and why this is the best Gears game that has ever released. Do you feel that tingling sensation in your body right now? That's Gears, baby. Because this game is going to be a Game of the Year contender. One of the things that he said that was really great was how in depth they went with the characters. First of all, in depth and characters doesn't even make sense when it comes to Gears. It really doesn't. The most in depth we got with the original Gears series was probably Dom and Dom's wife. That's about as in depth as we got. For the most part, it was just pretty much an action game with a cool story about the locusts and trying to stop them from pretty much annihilating the human race. That's pretty much what it was in a nutshell. And dealing with the queen. And it's still, in my opinion, there's still a lot of things unanswered about the queen. I still haven't figured out. I haven't read any books, so I don't know if there was something that happened where the queen was able to talk and she looked more human than the other locusts. But end of the day, it wasn't put into the game, so there was a lot of questions left for me. But the character depth is something that he brought up and said that they have really done a number on it, and it's super impressive. He said one of the great things about the game was that, you know how in Uncharted, one of the cool things about Uncharted was that they would have these sequences where it's an intense battle and you're on a train or you're in a Jeep or you're in a car. You get those experiences in Gears. They really opened up the world. It felt open. It didn't feel so corridorish. It didn't feel point A to point B. It just felt open. And the AI is smarter. The game is harder. It's more difficult. And even the multiplayer is a bit more difficult. And that's amazing. Everything that he said sounds amazing. And the story, he said, is great. Never played a Gears game like it and felt like it was the best in the series. And I was really impressed with what he thought about the game. Now, that review comes out tonight at 3 p.m. And that's 3 p.m. Eastern, midnight Pacific. So if you're in Pacific time, you get a chance to check it out, as well as our video review that will be hitting the Tech Network channel. That's going up. We actually have it set and ready to release at midnight Pacific time. And you'll be able to get a chance to see that. Now, what we have planned for you guys that you're listening right now, at 9 p.m., Kid Smooth is going to hop on the channel, and he's going to play Gears multiplayer. You'll be able to get a chance to see Gears of War live on the Inner Circle Network right after this show, and you'll be able to chat with Kid Smooth, and I'll try to join the chat, and we'll chat it up a bit about Gears and what we like and what looks good. We'll talk about if he sucks or not, because usually he does. And that's really awesome. And then tomorrow at noon, Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern, we're going to play the campaign. And Kid Smooth will be back for another TICGN Let's Play. You'll be able to get a chance to see the opening campaign. If you're interested in seeing it, you don't have to watch it, obviously. But you'll be able to chance to get a feel for the campaign. If you were on a fence for Gears of War 4, stop in tomorrow at noon. Check out the game. Check out the score. See what the game is like. See if you're into it. And definitely pick it up. I already bought my copy, so I'm excited about playing it. It looks really impressive. New weapons. New weapons and things like that, which have been really kind of a staple of Gears in a way. I think every series they've introduced some sort of new weapon. And it's really cool how they've made the the enemy, and the story of how the enemy becomes the enemy after everything you've done with the Locust and all the characters and stuff like that. I spoke at length a couple weeks ago about the prologue and what I thought about how they showed the Pendulum Wars and then Emergence Day and then the end and how they won. And now you're talking about, I think, 15 years later is where this takes place with the new story and a new crew. And it's really impressive to see them kind of really bring this team to life, because this is going to be our Gears of War team going forward. And there's a lot of twists, on a lot of turns. They have really outdone themselves story-wise. Yo, I'm excited, and I hope you guys are excited too. This could be another 90. If you are a fan of Metacritic, or if you believe in Metacritic, or you rely on it, my understanding is this game might be another 90 title for Microsoft, and a game that could be contender of the year. We'll see what happens. So that's it, man. I don't want to get too deep into it. I'm gonna leave a few minutes to the chat with you guys out there that's watching the show live. Give away a few games real quick via code right across the microphone. If you're quick, if you're quick on the trigger, you may be able to download this game. I'm going to go ahead and say the code in about 2 minutes. So you guys better get your keyboards ready, or your your keyboards ready, or your pens ready to write down this code. It's just funny, man. It's just funny that we think about Gears. Gears always seemed like, and don't get me wrong, there was a story. There definitely was a story. I know they had comics, and I know that they had like graphic novels and stuff like that, but I didn't get into it like I got to Halo. Halo just seemed so sophisticated. You know, it was very sophisticated, and the background story was sophisticated about John and how he was raised and kidnapped and became a soldier, and his new family and all the wars and the people that he lost. It was such an in-depth story, and the world and the universe was so big. It was impressive to me. I didn't get that sense from Gears, but my understanding is that you may get that sense from the new game, and it's going to be crazy when it comes out. So again, at 9 p.m., we'll be playing the multiplayer on TICGN's Let's Play with Kid Smooth. I've spoken to him, trying to get him to stop cursing, because we don't do curses on this channel. We will also have a Let's Play tomorrow, Thursday at noon, and you'll be able to see the campaign. And then our review comes out at midnight Pacific time, 3:01 a.m. Eastern time, and you can get the review for the video on here at 3:01 a.m. if you're on the East, or at midnight Pacific time if you're on the West. As well as our written review will hit at the same time on TICGN.com. So here we go. Right now, I'm going to give away Quantum Break for Windows 10. If you like Quantum Break, if you want to give it away to a friend and you think that they should play this game, then by all means, do so. Give me half a second to bring up the code, and I will then talk the code out to you guys. First come, first serve. You know, if you're fast enough, if you're lucky enough, you can. I'll give you guys a second to get the Xbox.com or the Xbox app to go to redeem code, and first person to hit enter wins. I think that's pretty intense. I think that's pretty intense. Let's see what happens here in a second. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's the Quantum Break code for Windows 10. Oh, it's Windows 10, so it's not Xbox Live. Well, it has the same five codes. Okay, cool. All right, so here we go. Windows 10, guys. Windows 10. I'm going to count down to 10. I hope you guys are ready to receive this code for Windows 10 Quantum Break. If you haven't played Quantum Break, you should definitely try it out. Don't sleep. Don't let people fool you and make you think that the game is bad, because it's not. It's actually a really good game. And you can skip the cutscenes if you want to, but hey, they were very impressive. Very impressive, man. They weren't as bad as people trying to make them out to be. I don't know what everybody was talking about. But here we go. Here's Quantum Break for Windows 10. The first 5 letters are P, K, J, Y, 2. The next 5 letters, M, 9, C, Q, Q. The next 5, F, X, X, 9, 6. The next 5, 9, J, 2, 2, Y. Here we go, guys. Here's the last 5. If you want to redeem this game and get a free copy of Quantum Break for Windows 10, take it with you on the road or take it with you at work. 6, R, 9, X, Z. There you go. That's your Quantum Break code right there. If you didn't hear it, I'm going to repeat it very quickly. And hopefully you guys get in and you enjoy it. Leave a comment in the comment section if it worked for you. If not, whatever. Have fun. That's what it's all about, gaming. The code again was PKJ129CQQ FXX969J22Y6R9XZ. Big shout out to C. Russell. He gave us that code. I definitely have to acknowledge him. Great fan of the Inner Circle. Good buddy of mine on Xbox. Really thank you for the support. Really appreciate the code, man. And I'm sure some fans out there will enjoy it. What we have next up is a couple of Gears games. If you don't have Gears, first of all, who doesn't have Gears? I think everybody has Gears at this point. But I'm going to give away Gears of War Judgment and Alan Wake. Hey, we got a code for Alan Wake. Look at that. Who doesn't have Alan Wake? Everybody has Alan Wake? You don't have Alan Wake yet? Okay, let's do it. We got 2 more games to give away, and I'll figure out a way to give away Gears 1, 2, and 3 tomorrow during the campaign, all to one person who may not even have the game. Okay, first we're going to do Judgment. Here we go. Gears of War Judgment, QW6C7 K9PY6 XTWDX XYVYV. And here's your last 5. CXVMZ. That's 2 Z's in a row. How ironic is that? Oh, man. And we're going to finish up. Hopefully you got that written down and you're trying to put that in maybe on your Xbox app or xbox.com, because that game is only for Xbox. That's not Windows 10. And here's Alan Wake code, I believe, is also for, oh, no, I'm sorry. That's not Alan Wake. We gave that code away. We already gave away Alan Wake. Apologies. Okay. So yeah, we only had Judgment and Quantum Break tonight. And then tomorrow during the campaign stream, we'll be giving away Gears 1, 2, and 3 to one person. The whole series, all 3 games. I think everybody has the game by now, man. If you're an Xbox fan, you've had it. But if you're a PlayStation fan, maybe you don't have it. Maybe you haven't tried it yet. Hey, it could be yours. You never know. So again, man, I want to thank everybody for stopping out. I'm going to go ahead and answer a few questions before Kid Smooth hops on the channel and takes over. And let's see what we can get done. So I'm going to go ahead and end for the MP3 crowd and get it popping with you guys in a sec. So I'm your host, KLWarXKL, the last on the planet Xbox. I'll be back next week, Wednesday, around 7 p.m. Check out Multiverse Podcast on Mondays at 8. The Tick Writer's Block Mondays at 8. You have Super Podshots on Wednesdays at 7, followed by either the Inner Circle Podcast, which we had last week, at that timing depends on whatever, but we'll let you guys know. And then of course you have Anchorman's The Top Shelf, which is Friday. Today's Wednesday, which is Friday. And you'll be able to hear his take on what's going on in the industry, and that's an uploaded show. So definitely go ahead and support. Hit the like button, guys. Really appreciate it if you guys hit the like button and you retweet and you guys get your friends to subscribe to the channel. We want to grow the channel to spread the word. So again, I'm your host, KLWarXKL, the last son of planet Xbox, and I'm off this planet. Peace. Cool. All right, man. I want to thank everybody for rocking with me tonight. I hope that you guys enjoyed tonight's show. If you guys got any other games, congratulations. If not, whatever. I try to give away something. You guys have any questions before I head out and let Kid hop on? He's supposed to be on around 9:10, 9:15, and take over the channel to start streaming some Gears of War multiplayer. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them now. And I will see you guys probably in the next 15, 20 minutes in the chat. Javier Enrique says they just announced a Gears movie with Universal. Yeah, I just saw that. My team just wrote it up and put it out there. Gears of War movie is coming out, and that's going to be pretty crazy when it drops. I hope it's good. We all know movie adaptations always fail. They just do. Hollywood messes everything up. But I think if Microsoft can go ahead and, you know, get their claws in there and make sure that the story that they put out is very similar to the game, then it works. I think a lot of people, they always try to create something new, something different from the comic or something different from the game. I think people just want to see the game live on movie, like in the movie. That's really all they want. They want the same story, the same characters, maybe close to the same dialogue, but they just want to see it live and see how it all plays out. You know what I'm saying? That's what people really want when it comes to these movies. It's like when you make things like Batman versus Superman, you have to keep those things as authentic to the comic as possible. Sure, you could change little plot things here and there, but for the most part, people want what they know. That's why those things are great. That's why the book was great. Don't change it to try to fit some type of Hollywood, demographic or stereotype. Like, keep things original. And I think that's really important if they're able to do those things. I don't know if they'll be able to do that with Gears, but I think if Microsoft has a big hand in it, they'll be able to. I really like what they did with Halo and like the Forward Onto Dawn. I really like that series, and I wish that they would continue that. The Master Chief show is supposed to be still happening. I don't know when it's going to come out, but Phil says it's still in the works. Javier says, it worries me that they try to extend the Gears universe and the upcoming Gears stories are hurt like it happened with Halo 5. I don't know if this story is going to be hurt, man. Based on what I've seen and what I've heard, I don't think it's going to be hurt at all. I think a lot of people are going to be impressed with it. I think a lot of people are going to be happy. Clearly you're not, a lot of fans may not be happy that they may not be messing with the original crew like they used to. But at the end of the day, they are continuing the franchise, putting new faces out there, putting new stories out there, new enemies out there. And it's Gears, but it's not Gears. And that's cool. We have to see how that all plays out. Everybody I've spoken to loved the game. I have not gotten one bad word about Gears yet. And we immediately got some bad news from Halo when Halo was about to drop. You've seen the comment sections on GAF or somewhere on Twitter. Somebody had played the game and they either were disappointed or they weren't impressed with it, or they came out and said it was not enough Chief in the game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're not getting any of that from Gears. Any of it. And I'm telling you, the game is going to be crazy. It's going to be possibly the biggest game this year next to Uncharted. And that's dope. Okay, so listen, man, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to end the show. I want to thank everybody for stopping out once again. Love you guys. Thank you for the support. Again, I'll be back next week with another super Podshots. Still have a few interviews up my sleeve. I'm trying to work out the scheduling with those things and try to get these people on the show. We have some great things and great questions to ask them. You already know how we do over here at Tick and everything like that. And I will see you guys on Twitter as well. If you want to follow me on Xbox, my name is KOR space lowercase x space KAL space EL. Definitely friendly person. Definitely hit me up. I will go ahead and save you as a friend. And if you ever want a game anytime, let me know and we can game. All right. I'll holler at you guys next week. It's your boy KOR SKLL, the last on the planet Xbox, and I'm off this planet. Peace.